The day was June 17th, 2015. A 21-year-old entered in the night, welcomed in by the faithful, devoted students of the Bible, grandmothers, mothers, fathers, friends. They gathered there to pray, to dig deep into the teachings of the good book. Then mayhem. Shots fired. The massacre at Mother Emanuel AME Church in Charleston seems like it happened just yesterday. I sat down with Charlotte City Council member Malcolm Graham, whose sister was there that night. So good to see you. I appreciate you sitting down and talking to me. It's been 8 years since that devastating event at Mother Emanuel AME Church, your home church in Charleston, and I wanted to check in with you to see how you're doing 8 years later.
Well, thank you for the opportunity to talk about Charleston, Emanuel AME Church, and more importantly, my big sister Cynthia. Seems like it was yesterday that we got the call that there was a major incident at Emanuel AME Church in Charleston, and obviously the first thing that I did was call Cynthia to make sure she was okay, and obviously she wasn't.
70 shots fired from a Glock 45, 9 dead, including Cynthia Graham Hurd, the sister of Charlotte City Councilman and former South Carolina State Senator Malcolm Graham.
Oh, such a long journey. Remembering the night that, again, we got the call, and actually it was not a call, it was just seen on the TV, actually, right? I was breaking a rule that Kim has, that no CNN or MSNBC in the bedroom. Yeah. And I was sneaking watching cable news, and on the crawl was shooting at Emanuel, 9 people feared dead. And so quite naturally, I picked up the phone to call Cynthia. She was my connection to Charleston. Obviously, Emanuel AME Church is a part of my family. My grandmother went there, my mom went there, mm-hmm. I went there as a youngster, and Cynthia didn't pick up, and I said, well, she's trying to figure out for herself what's going on, and about an hour later, my niece called and said, hey, we can't find Aunt Cynthia, we think she went to Bible study. And then intuitively I knew that she was involved, because something of that nature, she would have called and said, hey, I'm okay, just checking in.
It was one of the most heinous racially motivated crimes in modern history, and it happened in this sacred space, Mother Emanuel AME Church, founded in 1816 by Denmark Vesey, former slave and free man of color. His goal way back then, to carve out an avenue for freedom, to create a safe space for the enslaved to worship and learn. Vesey's efforts at the first independent black church in the South spawned church raids in the early 1800s, the burning of the building, and the execution of 35 church members, founder Vesey among them. Today, on the heels of the modern massacre, a grim irony between past and present.
From there, it started just a roller coaster in terms of dealing with the knowledge that she had died, dealing with the knowledge that she died in such a horrific way.
Talk to me about what Cynthia meant for you in your life, what kind of person she was.
Cynthia was personable, sharp, candid. My big sister, right? My mom died at an early age, so did my father, and so upon graduating from Johnson C. Smith, Cynthia was my mother figure, not only as the big sister, and so she raised me as a young adult, there at my wedding, there at my first political contest, helping me write speeches, mm-hmm. and op-ed editorials. She was a librarian, she was a scholar, she was a writer, a researcher, and she was my best friend.
The nation watched as that event happened back in 2015. I called you, I think, shortly after that happened. I felt the devastation. I can only imagine what it felt like for you to go through something like that. It's been 8 years. How has your journey been over the past 8 years, and what lessons have you learned along the way?
We established the Cynthia Graham Hurd Foundation for Reading, Literacy, and Civic Engagement, focusing on reading literacy. That's who she was. And we did book drives for the last 8 years, in Charleston. We've collected over 70,000 books that we've redistributed to child care centers and daycare centers and elementary school and preschool programs. We do a big tennis tournament that we've used to fund the work of the foundation, which is the Charlotte Amateur Tennis Championship. And then we give back to nonprofit organizations like Read Charlotte, Promising Pages.
As you heal over the past 8 years, the nation also has been going through a healing process. You mentioned that this was a racially driven event. We saw the coming down of that Confederate flag in South Carolina. We've seen Black Lives Matter. Where are we today when it comes to healing and race relations?
I'm not sure we've gotten much further down the road, right? Just 2 weeks ago, there was a race-related shooting in Jacksonville. A year and a half ago, there was a similar race shooting in Buffalo at the supermarket where 9 people died there. There were racial shootings in Pittsburgh at the synagogue, which Jewish Americans lost their lives.
So you're writing a book, which is incredible. It also can be a healing process, the process of reliving those moments. It can be a painful process as well. How has the process of writing the book been for you?
It's been healing and painful, right? Because it causes you to reflect and go backwards, to recount memories that sometimes you want to forget. And it's been helpful because it gets me to talk about things that I kind of held in, and so it's been interesting. There were some times where I just had to put it down for a while, because it was just too much, right? You have to be factually correct, and you go back and read newspaper articles and autopsies reports. The title of it is called The Way Forward, and some of the questions that people ask of me and I ask of myself, we kind of address in the book, like where was God, and trying to struggle with that.
Have you found answers to that question? Where was God? I imagine that's something a lot of people can relate to when they go through tragic and traumatic events. They want to know, where is God?
Well, I found it in the meaning of Emanuel, which is God is with us.
It is that brand of faith, slow and steady, that gives Malcolm Graham the gumption to dig out the good from a rotted soil.
We kind of sum it up by saying, hey, keep the faith, do the work.
A complicated work indeed.